Hi, this is ShelvesbyTim, and today we're going to talk about what happens or what to do when your RFID lock fails. One of the most common causes of a lock failure is going to be that the power or the batteries have failed. And that can simply be that you didn't change them prior to the running out of power. And so a simple solution to that is simply take one of the battery packs that came with your shelf, put some fresh batteries in it, plug it in to the back of the shelf on the bottom where the coaxial cable goes. In the end it looks like this. Plug it in, use your card, scan the lock, open up the shelf, and you're done. Replace the batteries in the shelf. There's a little screw right here that mount for the battery, or the batteries are stored. Unscrew that, put fresh batteries in, and away you go. Now, if that doesn't fix the problem, there might be another cause as to why your lock isn't functioning. And that's the focus of what we're going to have for the video today. So what I'm going to show you is an alternate way, and it does require drilling a hole in the shelf, and so it requires a little bit of skill and a little bit of patience, but it's a fairly simple process. And what we're going to do is, on the shelf there are actually two mounting blocks because there's two locks. There's a mounting block here on the front and the right hand side, and attached to it is a black latch block. What happens is the lock has a latch that comes out spring loaded, and it actually fits inside of the back side of this lock. What we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole through the wood into this latch block. Then we're going to place a wire that we're going to press through, and that wire will press against the latch, forcing it to be an open position and allow you to open the lock. So there's one latch block on the right hand side in the front, and there is a second latch block right here that's on the left hand side that's actually on the side, not the front. So in order to do that, we have to do some measurements. So with the shelf closed, I'm going to show you what that's going to look like. So from the side, you're going to start right here, and you're going to measure from, this right here, from right here across. You're going to measure 4 inches, and you're going to take a mark, and you're going to put a mark right there, right where the 4-inch mark is, right on the lower half of the shelf where it fits inside of the top part of the latch. I'll put a mark on mine. Okay, so what I've done is I've put a mark that's exactly 4.5 inches from the edge of the lower half of the shelf. So we're going to take, and that's going to mark the place where we're going to wind up drilling. So you can see here's the mark, and it's 4.5 inches from this edge right here. Okay, so now I've selected a 1/8 inch drill bit. And the reason for that is it's going to be a fairly small hole that we're going to have to use to drill. And what I've done is I've taken and measured 1.5 inches from the tip. I've put a piece of tape on here, and the tape is going to allow me to see when I need to stop, so I don't want to drill too deep into the lock that would prevent me from actually damaging the lock. Okay, so we're going to drill the hole. And when I drill, I want to make sure that the drill stays as level with the shelf as possible. And I'm going to drill slowly until the blue tape reaches the center, or reaches the wood. And when it has done, then I want to stop because it's now gone in there deep enough. I'm going to put the drill down. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you, we're going to stick a piece of wire in there that's going to allow us to trigger the latch and allow it to open. Now for a wire, what I recommend is just simply using a simple coat hook. All you have to do is get a pair of crosscut wire cutters, and you want to cut a piece of wire that's going to be about 3 inches long. So I'm going to take and cut one right here, and if it's a little bit longer than that, it's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so here I've cut my wire, and this one's about, should be at least 3 inches long. This is about 3.5 inches long. Okay, so now that we've drilled the hole, we can actually use our coat hanger wire to trip the latch. So you'll want to drill the hole on the right hand side as well as the left-hand side. Once you've gotten that done, you can trip each latch individually and allow the lock to open. So I'm going to insert the wire in. It'll actually go in about 1.5 inches, and you'll feel it stop. And once it stops, then you're going to push a little bit further. It's going to be spring-loaded. You're going to feel it. And once it reaches all the way in, you can press up, and it will allow the latch to open, just like that. And so now that the shelf is open, you're exposed to the lock. You can remove the cover panel here for where the batteries are, replace the batteries if that's what's needed, or you can actually, there's 4 screws in that are holding the lock to the shelf, and if you need to reprogram the lock, you take those 4 screws off, and allows you to reprogram the lock if that's what's needed. Then the last thing that you want to do before you're all done is you've got this little hole right here. So what I do is I just take some wood filler, I'll fill that in, pack it as deeply as I can, and then usually with a little bit of stain that I'll get to match. This is a cherry stain. If yours is an ebony or whatever painted, you just want to get it as closely matched as possible. And it's a fairly small hole. It should be fairly inconspicuous for the casual observer. But you want to repair that hole as kind of best you can, and then you're done.